So Georgia this year, new quarterback as well. Tough schedule. You got Gunnar Stockton at quarterback this year. Carson Beck going to Miami. It's a tough schedule, as I just mentioned. Still a lot of hype around this team, though. I mean, it's everyone's saying Georgia and Texas once again going to the SEC title game, making the playoffs. It's going to be interesting to see what happens this year. So I'll say I'll go ahead with my picks here for Georgia, and then I'll let you take over whenever I'm done with it. You said you're a little bit higher on Alabama than Georgia, so interesting there. Starting week 1 against Marshall, that's a tough Group of 5 team to play, but they're going to get a win against Marshall. They're also going to win against Austin Peay in week 2 at Tennessee in week 3. Here's what I like about this game for Tennessee. Tennessee is going to be playing a quality opponent in Syracuse in week 1. I personally don't think Syracuse is going to be all that good, but when you look at the overall makeup of the roster, you look at the caliber of the team, Syracuse is a much better team than Marshall is. So I think Tennessee has that going for them. I think that Tennessee right now has a slight edge at quarterback because of the experience that Joey Aguilar has over Gunnar Stockton. But ultimately, Georgia still has Kirby Smart, man. And honestly, until I see Tennessee beat Georgia, I can't pick it to happen. So I've got Georgia beating Tennessee in Knoxville in week 3 there. Coming off a bye week, going up against Alabama. This could end up being a letdown spot for Georgia at this point. You know, you just got a big win against Tennessee. You got a bye week. You're probably going to have a lot of speedings happening. You might not have all your roster by the time the Alabama game comes around. Just wondering if any of you got that joke there. But anyway, I've already said that I think Georgia's going to beat Alabama. That's going to be a very close game, and I do think if that game was in Tuscaloosa, that it would lean more towards Alabama than it does. Kentucky on October the 4th. I think that's going to be a win there. We've seen some very close Kentucky-Georgia games as of recently, and games that probably shouldn't be close. I personally think that this year it won't be as close as it has been in the past. This Auburn game, though, that's going to be an interesting one. We've already mentioned strange things happen in Jordan-Hare Stadium. I mean, you got the prayer at O'Hare that happened with, I believe it was Brandon Marshall at quarterback against Georgia. Of course, we all remember the kick 6 against Alabama. It's just strange things happen whenever you play in Auburn. You can't forget the Hail Mary there. What was it, 4th and 30 or something like that with Milroe? I mean, obviously that went against Auburn, but still a strange thing happening there in Jordan-Hare. But I just think that Georgia's a better team overall than Auburn. I don't trust Hugh Freeze right now, what he's got going on. So I've got to win against Auburn in this game. Ole Miss. This game is at home this year. And I think that Kirby Smart's going to remember what happened to them, just absolutely getting embarrassed by Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss last year in that game. I've got a win for Georgia in this one. This Florida game, it's a very intriguing one, the game being in Jacksonville. I think that Florida is going to be a very good team this year, but I think it all hinges on the health of DJ Lagway. We haven't seen him stay 100% healthy so far in his time at Florida. There's been some health issues so far in the offseason as well. At this point in the season, how healthy is DJ Lagway? Because if they're playing Harrison Bailey in this game, give me Georgia by as many as they choose. Ultimately, I think this game is going to be close, but I am going to lean Georgia in this game. At Mississippi State, that home field advantage is not going to matter for Mississippi State. I got to win there for Georgia. The Texas game, this game is at home for Georgia. I'm not fully sold on Arch Manning, but I do think that after losing twice to Georgia last year, I think Texas gets the better of Georgia in this game. I've got a loss for Georgia against Texas. Charlotte, next to last game of the season, I've got a win there. That Georgia Tech game, I think this game is in the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. When I looked up the schedule earlier, it didn't say at Georgia Tech, but it did say Atlanta. So I think it's in the Georgia Dome instead of at Georgia Tech or in Athens, anything like that. Georgia Tech, I think they're going to be a sneaky good team this year. We saw how that game played out last year with Haynes King. Georgia Tech should have won that game. That game should have never gone to overtime. Georgia should have ended up getting beat. Do I think that something like that could happen again this year? Absolutely, I think that it could. But I just, when you look at the roster as a whole, Georgia's a much better team than Georgia Tech. I've got a win for Georgia in this contest, going 11-1 on the season, and that's where I think their ceiling is.
Yeah.
I don't see them going undefeated. If they beat Texas, I think they lose to Tennessee or Florida or even Auburn. I think there is a loss somewhere on this schedule. So 11-1 is the ceiling. I think that's what Georgia is going to go this year. The floor for this team, I think you could lose to Tennessee. I think you could lose to Alabama. And I think you could lose to one of Auburn, Ole Miss, or Florida. I don't think you lose to all three of them, but I think you could lose to one of those three teams. So I've got 8-4 as the floor for this team. 11-1 is a ceiling, and 11-1 is what I've chosen Georgia to go this season. Ultimately, for me, it's Kirby Smart as the head coach at Georgia. So until somebody proves that they can dethrone him as the best coach in college football, because I still say that he is over Ryan Day. Ryan Day won one title. Kirby Smart has won two. He's also done it for longer than Ryan Day has. So until somebody can show that they can dethrone Georgia, I'm going to pick Georgia to have success.
Yeah. That is just to me, it's the Mike Bobo issue.
That's a great point too.
It is. Mike Bobo is he's holding you back, in my personal opinion. And you know, I come from the Saban coaching tree. I mean, I've got might as well pull it right here. I've got basically Georgia's playbook sitting right here from the 2018 Tennessee team. So I can tell you, I know what they're schematically going to do. And I can tell you that they are very not happy when it comes to the schedule they have to play this season, because they're playing 7 different offensive schemes that are playing at a super high level. Just to go into it, I mean, Marshall's obviously a win. We have no question on that. Austin Peay's a win. My gut, for some reason, is telling me, and typically I don't like to listen to my gut. I think Tennessee handles Georgia. I really do. I think Tennessee ends up beating Georgia. At loss for Georgia. Yeah. So again, it goes back to knowing kind of who your opponent is. Georgia is, if you look at what we did in 2022 versus Nick Saban, I think it's obviously hard to replicate what kind of performance Jalen Hyatt did and the execution that we had there. But Georgia runs a eerily similar defense than what Alabama did under Nick Saban. Almost identical. The only thing different is when do they call adjustments at what formations. We have a kind of an edge when it comes to what I'm going to call old school defense. We're going to make these guys think. They're not going to have enough time, I believe, to really take in our film. We're playing them week 3. So again, it's just not a lot of sample size. We can hide ourselves a lot better than people realize. Again, they're playing Alabama. You all already know how I feel about Alabama. I think that I gave Georgia the win in this previously. That's a toss-up. But again, I think Alabama, that's what they're looking towards. I think that we're disrespected. They get smacked in the face by us. They come off a bye and they handle business. Now, granted, I believe Kirby Smart's 4-6 off a bye week. So something to keep in mind. Kentucky, they're terrible. They're awful. They beat Kentucky handily. I think they beat Auburn. Old Miss is just sneaky, man. I mean, Lane Kiffin just has some mojo about him. I think he gets under Kirby Smart's skin a little bit. So I'm going to give Old Miss the win here. I think it's very close. Ooh. I'm also going to give, well, no, I'm not yet. I think they handle Florida pretty well. The more I think about it, I'm with you. I think DJ Lagway makes that thing run a lot, but I think the supporting cast kind of around Florida is not as good as people think they are. Um, Going at Mississippi State, that's a win for Georgia. Texas is really, really talented. I mean, they are really, really talented. I just don't see a way that Texas isn't your SEC champion this year. I'm going to obviously say that Texas beats Georgia, even though it's at Georgia. Um, Obviously, they beat Charlotte. Georgia Tech's an interesting one because they've got a quarterback who has put his kind of heart on the line here. I mean, I think he's in his last year, right? Haynes King's in his last year.
Yes.
Um, there's a chance. I don't see it happening, but we'll go to the floor, and I think again you'll see a 9-3 for Georgia this year. That's my expectation. I think they do miss the playoffs doing this.
All right, so your ceiling and your floor for this team?
My ceiling obviously is going to be 11-1. I don't see how they can't drop a game like a Texas or an Alabama, Tennessee. I mean, they've got 5 teams that are legit coin tosses, maybe 51-49% type deal. And it, again, like we just talked about, it's so hard to win in the SEC. So my ceiling is going to be 11-1. I mean, that's the best they can do. The problem with Bama is I think that they have a quarterback that's a lot more complementary to the way they play ball. I don't think Gunnar Stockton does the things that Carson Beck can do. I think that Georgia fans will figure out they'll miss Carson Beck a little bit. Their floor, however, is a little bit interesting. I think they can lose to Tennessee, Alabama. I think they can lose to Auburn. I don't see them losing. I think they can go 7-5. I think that's their floor is 7-5. I could see a crazy 6-6, but that would mean, I mean, if you lose to Tennessee, Alabama, and then lost to Auburn, Ole Miss, and Florida, it could get ugly. Just knowing the way that those locker rooms respond. But I'm going to say 7-5. While I really want to say 6-6.
Yeah, so Jay chimes in and says home field advantage will be huge in the Tennessee Georgia game.
Massive.
I completely agree with you. That's also going to be the checker kneeling game as well. So it's going to be huge in that game. And I said it, Jake said it as well. How early Tennessee gets Georgia in the season, I think could play a huge part in that. You're catching Georgia before they can finally get a rhythm going with Gunnar Stockton and the rest of that roster. I think if you were to catch Georgia late in November, like you have the last couple of seasons, I think I lean advantage Georgia at this time because I do still think that Kirby Smart is a better coach than Josh Heupel, obviously. I mean, I think Kirby Smart's still the best coach in college football since Nick Saban is gone. So I do think home field advantage is huge. I think Tennessee can win that game. But sitting here right now, I lean advantage Kirby Smart overall, and that's why I gave Georgia the win in that one. Sean says, I could see Georgia losing to Tennessee, Bama, and Texas. But as far as quarterbacks go, I would trust Gunnar Stockton over Ty Simpson. Yeah. As far as who has a chance of winning the bigger games. Well, so I think I agree with him as far as a chance of winning the bigger games. I think that Stockton could shine a little bit more than Simpson. As far as talent overall, I'm not sure who I would trust more.
It's a tough one because you've seen Stockton play in big games.
Yes, exactly.
It's easy to visualize it. Again, I want to go back to how much this staff trusts Ty Simpson. I hate to say it, they really like him. There's guys who are on that staff right now who they don't want to give out any bits of information, but guys on that staff want to say, hey, we like what we have in him. And again, if you see what they had Michael Penix do at Washington, he's eerily similar. So I just think that Ty Simpson will show himself pretty early. I think going back to that schedule, you'll kind of see he'll ease into it. Gunnar Stockton to me is playing. He's got his hand tied behind his back, but that's my personal opinion about Mike Bobo. And so, my point is I just think that Ty Simpson has more tools in order to win some ball games.
Yep, I agree with you.